Hey, you're listening to Don't Lie to Your Life Coach podcast with Kim Arrington. I'm Kim Arrington. I'm a life coach, a weight loss coach, an author, and a badass passionate about helping you connect back to your most authentic self. Join me here each week so I can coach you on how to think all those juicy thoughts that get you feeling your absolute best and taking some big ass action. Coaching has changed my life, and it can change your life too. I'm here to give you real life solutions to create a life you'll love. Because the truth is, boo, you ain't just got problems, you got options. Hey, y'all. Look at my pretty dress. I accidentally just opened up an application on my computer. While I'm interrupting you to close applications on my computer, have you subscribed to the YouTube? If you are listening to me on your favorite podcast network, you don't get to see my beautiful purple dress, my deep purple dress, my Barney purple dress. I'm actually wearing this to go see Gregory Porter. And it's funny because I'm going with like one of my oldest friends. We've literally been friends since we were 4. Shout out Kendra. We have pictures from my birthday party turning 5, and both of our parents were teachers. Her dad eventually ended up moving on to be in administration and hired me when I moved back here from New York. I was a teacher's assistant. Shout out to the TAs out there. And it just, that whole coming back here opened up a whole space that was very cool. She is taking me on a friend date to go see Gregory Porter. And it's so funny this week. I texted her because sometimes I'm a revisionist, not in the bad way of revisionist. I don't know if y'all know about the revisionist who believe things like certain big historical events didn't happen. No, I'm a revisionist, and sometimes I'll say something and I'll need to come back and take it back and be like, actually, no, I don't want to do this. So she was going to take me to the concert, and I was going to pay for dinner, take her to dinner. And I realized that amount of time, and we're going to Raleigh, and we live in Durham, and going to Raleigh, we always talk so much shit about going to Raleigh because it's just a whole nother country. It's like a whole nother sitch in Raleigh. Sorry if you live in Raleigh, it's just, I don't know. Anyway, so I texted her and I was like, look, I have an expiration date. I could do the concert. I'll take you to dinner. Actually, her favorite meal is breakfast, which is mildly annoying because that's my least favorite meal. But I was like, I will even take you to breakfast. But when we talked on the phone, she was like, well, what did you mean by that? And I was like, I can't, I have an amount of time I can spend with people. And then especially because y'all, I'm designing the weight loss course. Yay. I'm in deep design of that. And when I'm in that kind of time being a mad scientist, I really need to be with myself. I might get an idea. It's all those things. So I was like, look, I can be with you for the hours of the concert, but we ain't doing dinner too. That is too much everything. And she totally agreed. I know her. She's the same way. So anyway, shout out to coming back and revising something. And that is what is so important today. Look at that segue. It's so important today because we are talking about why you ain't asking for help. And yes, just like in the story where I came back and said, oh, actually, I don't want to do that. You can revise what you once said. Let me make sure my phone is off. Okay. You can revise what you once said. But I want to first kind of give you some context around why you aren't asking for help. And I kind of feel like the number one reason why you won't ask for help is the story you're telling yourself about the asking. Okay, let me say that again. The number one reason why you're not asking for help is the story you're telling yourself about asking for help. And in today's podcast, we are going to really look at that. Okay. I'm a life coach. I help people in life transitions. When people pass away, or people have a long-term illness of them, either they have it or their family member has it, or they want to, change relationship status or job status, or they just have an overall feeling in midlife like this is not what I want, or there are issues with family members, or you have it. And also weight loss, right? And by the way, KimArrington.com/weight loss. If you want to find out about the weight loss course, I'm feverishly working on it. I'm actually not feverishly working on it. I'm enjoying every bit of it because that's how I make stuff now. And if you want just to get on my waiting list to be coached, KimArrington.com. I'm just going to tell y'all, if you want to be coached by me, you better hoppy, hippity, skippity, rippity, dippity to it, because I am changing how I work with clients, and I'm going to be working with a lot fewer clients every year, one-on-one, and doing more group coaching things. So if you want an opportunity to work with me one-on-one, you need to go ahead and get on that wait list, and I will reach out to you when there's an opening. So back to why you're not asking for help. You aren't asking for help. We already said that because of the story you're telling yourself. And what's that story? I'm going to go through some possible stories you're telling yourself. But this is something that came to me when I was planning out this episode is, and I'm going to repeat this in a bunch of podcasts. When you think you don't have choices, you suffer. When you think you do not have choices, you suffer. Period. We as humans, we need choices. So if you think this is that aha moment of the podcast, look, hey, Kim's aha moment. When you think you don't have choices in life, you suffer. You need choices. You need choices. And some of you always say, well, I have so many choices. I have, analysis paralysis. Is it paralysis? Yeah, analysis paralysis. Yes, that is a point. But when you have none, you suffer as well, right? And by the way, analysis paralysis is also a way to not make a choice. We'll talk about that in another podcast. So I want you to think about the help that you will ultimately receive in the future, or the help that you've received in the past. I want that to be a model for you, the way you also learn to help yourself. Okay. So we're going to talk about the stories you are telling around help. Like a big story you're telling around about help is you don't think anyone will help you. And you're going to say, I have evidence because I wanted this person to help and they didn't. Okay. You have those receipts, but let's revisit that story. And I'm going to tell you all the path to bliss, the path to blend. Remember, I don't do balance. Balance means that everything has to be in like perfect. I think about someone on a seesaw and they're standing in the middle of it. Like, how hard is that, right? No, there are times in your life where this one area is going to get more, if you get a diagnosis, that area of your life is going to get more attention than maybe spending time with your dear sweet grandma. Okay. So blend, and Jenna Kutcher, it's hard to say, Jenna Kutcher is the first person I remember seeing talking about blend. And what she said was that, we don't need to have balance because it's so hard to try to think that everything's equal. But blend is your life coming together in beautiful ways where even if difficult things are happening, there are other things that aren't difficult that are happening. Even if you're a person who works, that that this period, like the next 90 days for me are spicy because I'm working on this project, but then like I have all the rest of the time of the year. So the blend is allowing myself to not have to put pressure on myself to have it all equal and balanced. The blend is that I get to be authentically me even when things aren't going great, even when things are going good, and just allow myself to be connected to myself. Okay. Jenna, I don't know if that's what you meant, but that's what I'm saying you meant. Okay. So you don't think anyone will help you. Okay. How can you revisit that story and view it another way? I want you to think right now about times you have been helped in minute ways and bigger ways. Okay. I want you to think about that. So I'm talking about where, you know, it can be like if you're on a plane and the flight attendant comes and, offers you a drink, offers you those delicious little cookies, okay? Offers you the pretzels, whatever. Like that is help. You might have been hungry and boom, food just magically appears, all right? Or I want you to think about the person who slammed on brakes and didn't like hit your car. I want you to think about the person who checked you out. You didn't have to check yourself out. You didn't have to know what the banana code was. By the way, my first job when I was 15, 14 was Winn-Dixie, and you had a piece of paper that you had to leaf through to figure out what the codes are. And now they have little stickers, which is wonderful. Yay, innovation. Okay. But like you get helped all the time. You get helped all the time. But if you're thinking about the time you asked your third cousin, Bobby, to come help you on the side of the road, and Bobby cannot be trusted for nothing, and he didn't show up, and you said, oh, like I can't count on people ever. Okay, that was a funny way of looking at it. I'm talking about you went to your best friend and your best friend was going through something and your best friend was not able to help you. And then you have this kind of grudge you hold against your best friend. Now, I'm not talking about the people you chronically ask for things and they chronically can't do it, but I know even in my friendships, there have been times where someone has said, I needed you to do this. And I was like, I'm sorry. I couldn't do that. I needed myself. And then we go on and have a relationship, and then I'm able to help, and then I'm not able to help. And there is that equity, okay? So I see this especially, you don't think anyone will help you. I see this when people go to a therapist. If the first therapist doesn't work, then they decide therapy just does not work for me. Now, I have gone to therapists, and some therapists resonated with me more than others, and I've changed therapists, and I've realized, that's not it. The first person you go to may not be it. All or nothing thinking is not helpful. All or nothing thinking is not helpful. So it may take multiple tries to get it right. All right. The next two reasons have to do with this first one. You don't think anyone's going to help you. Okay. And I think I already kind of alluded to that. You ask the wrong person. This came up in a beautiful way in a session with one of my dear clients who is working through a mother wound. And she had this relationship with a friend, and they have been so supportive of each other. And when she went to ask, that friend was not available. And so in our session, because we're working on that mother wound and looking at how abandonment plays a role in that. And the thing about a mother wound is you're still 8 and you're still being hurt by your mother. And everything in your world, even if you are 58, is showing you, it's reflecting back to you how people can't be trusted, people abandon you, people neglect you. Everything is, I see my mom in everyone. And we literally made a list. I was like, well, first, no, we didn't. I was like, what did you want to have happen? So we kind of revised that history. What did you want the person to do? And then I said, we went name by name of people who would do it because she had talked about her supportive community. And literally, she made a list so she could, in black and white, there's where black and white thinking works for you. When it's some ink on a computer screen, she was able to make a list of people who would support her. So yes, that person couldn't support you. And I kind of asked these questions like, What is the conscious you know now? What is the like child you know? And she was able to like give understanding to why the person was like, yeah, the person was kind of all over the place. And, but I wanted that back because there was this, whatever. And in an ironic twist, she ended up helping support a person in the exact way that she wanted to be helped. You gotta be honest. Humans are passive aggressive mammals. Okay. We have ulterior motives when we want the help to come from just one person. So if I've paid into this relationship, then it's their time to show up for me. But sometimes the person who you want to show up for you can't. And by ulterior motive, y'all, I'm not trying to say it in a wicked sense. I'm just saying that it surprises you, especially if there's a pattern. But like in a healthy relationship where there's tons of safety, it's very common for people to show up for each other. But when you know that this person has a bunch of their own personal problems, or especially if there is a man or a relationship that they run towards, the ulterior motive could be, I want them to be here for me more than the other person. I want to know that I've been good and they're going to give back to me. And when you are able to look at your community, you will know that if that person doesn't work, you go to another person and another person and another person. Okay. When relationships, and this, I'm gonna give you another example of this. This is a polar opposite example, but still the ulterior word needs to come out. Okay. I see this when relationships are breaking down. I know this intimately myself. I know all these examples intimately myself. Okay. If you're the person who wants to stay together, you want to lean on the person who wants to break up to help you. You want that person to help you get rid of that grief you are feeling. And if you can step out of that, that doesn't make sense. Sometimes we secretly want validation. And we want to use the issue to get that from the person who needs distance. And what I can say is that if you make a little list, if I'm going to give you some homework, make a list of the people you can go to ask for help on your phone. And when you need help, look at that list. And if the first person doesn't make the cut, go to the second person. Okay. You asked at the wrong time. It's not even about you. You ask and your friend doesn't tell you that they have a whopping bill that just came out, or that, and they need to work overtime at their second job, or that they just got, a scary phone call from another friend and they're helping that friend, or that the job stress is enormous. Like sometimes we are looking for acceptance, validation, and when we experience the rejection, we don't understand it was just the wrong time, boo. It was the wrong time. And the way that people like to qualify this is, okay, well, if it's really the wrong time, then I should be able to come back around and ask them again. Honey, sometimes the wrong time can be years. It can be decades. You might want to listen to my episode on what's the title? Friend breakups that don't have to suck forever. Friend breakups don't have to suck forever. I'll put it in the show notes. Okay. Whenever I talk about something in depth, I'll put it in the show notes. You can either go to your podcast and look at this description and I'll link it, or you can go to the YouTube and there'll be links there. Okay. You asked at the wrong time. I definitely have had to tell people, hey, I can't help you right now. I'm going through something, or I can't do that in that way. I'm going through something. And then later I've been able to be there for them. But also, it's okay if a person can't be there for you. And I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's reality. I want you to think about when it's been a wrong time for people to ask for help, when you have not been the right person to ask for help, okay? You thought your need was just one ask. This is why you didn't realize that your need, your help was multiple ask, okay? Like it wasn't just, oh, I need you to help move my couch. It was, I'm suffering, a big financial setback and I need to move my house. I need to put my stuff in storage. I need to find a better paying job. I need to step away from this relationship because they're not being financially responsible. Like it's multiple. If you put the issue in the middle of the circle and you do like the word web, I guess that's what you call it, you have multiple lines coming off and there are multiple things that need to be done. This is kind of why I always say a coach is brilliant for this, because we are able to objectively look at your kind of bigger issue and break it into digestible parts. But yeah, there's going to probably be some pain and feeling uncomfortable. I'm actually going through this right now. I have an issue that is a multiple ask, and I have asked for some help in some areas, and then other areas I've been the help. Okay, I've had to pull my energy back. I will link to that podcast. Maybe it's time to pull back your energy, okay? So when it's a multiple ask, you might have to get multiple people involved, but you are also a person who can be involved too. You may have to later on, I'm going to talk about getting an organization involved. Like your help needs a bigger systematic approach, okay, that an organization can give versus one person, okay? You don't know how to say what you need, so you don't ask. Y'all, I know this has happened to you. You are looking for something on Amazon and you don't know how Amazon classifies it. You don't know what it's called. So you keep typing in things. And sometimes, like, I don't know if you're like me, I type in like 5 words and Amazon keeps showing you the results and it is not the right thing. And then finally you're like in the shower, you're like, oh shit, it's this. And you type it in and you find out it is. That's when you are having a problem. Sometimes you don't know what to ask for. You don't know what the problem is called. You don't know. You may need to spend some time journaling or talking out loud. I have a client who hates journaling, and I'm always like, just talk to yourself out loud. I do that all the time. I also like journaling though, but like, you may need to figure out what you need. And again, this is where plug number 7,000 for a life coach can help you, or a therapist, or a support group, or that friend. That friend who's like fucking sage, wise, whatever, as long as it's not the wrong time and they're not the wrong person, okay? So you may not know what you need yet, and you may need to spend some time thinking about it, okay? You're not asking for help because you don't realize your need for help comes from a historical pattern in your life, okay? So that means like this is bigger. I don't know why I want to say it's bigger than hip hop. That's a Dead Prez song. It's bigger than just the problem. You've continually had this problem throughout your life. And when historical patterns come up, I think a therapist is great for this, to be able to look back to see the origins of that problem, and then to be able to catch you up to present day to see how that problem is still showing up. Okay. So that's what you want to think about, is if it is a pattern, and if it is a pattern that you cannot step out of, then you may need to have a period of time devoted to that. And the reason why I said a therapist and not a life coach is because this historical pattern may come with a diagnosis. It may come with a need for certain modalities that a therapist can do, okay? But if it is a historical pattern, and I deal in historical patterns too, right? Like I can see something that keeps showing up and I say, hey, look at this. But if it's something that's super distressing, the path might be a therapist. Or I heard this said the other day, the perfect sandwich, a therapist and a coach, and you're in the middle and you're working it out, okay? Historical patterns often show up in our relationships, our intimate relationships in particular. I keep choosing men, women, or people who, that's a historical pattern. I keep getting into jobs that make me feel, that's a historical pattern. And so many of those patterns harken back to our childhood. Okay. You didn't give yourself enough time or bandwidth or attention to resolve the problem. Some problems take longer to work through than others. So that help is that, and you're frustrated because, oh, this person just did this for me, or this coach just did this for me. But you needed more time, more resources, more things to handle around the situation. And this is super common in the historical patterns example I just gave, but it's also really common when you are hypervigilant and you aren't willing to give the time. You're willing to give the time to others, but you're not willing to give the time to yourself. And I'm going to tell you something. If you look at how you treat others, it's a big indicator of what you could be doing for yourself. Okay. If you are super patient with others and you are super impatient with yourself, then giving yourself, I always say this to y'all, the problem is the solution, then giving yourself the time. I mean, 6 months, 9 months, a year, 3 years, 10 years, 30 days, 90 days, giving yourself the time to parse out the problem, to try multiple ways to solve it, find a way or two, and then work through it, that takes time. So sometimes, like your help that you started out with, you got to get some other help to do that as well, okay? So I want to give you a couple of kind of tips for you to be able to look at how to rethink help, okay? I mentioned it earlier. I teach my clients to make a supportive community list. I know I have clients who listen like, she ain't never told me to do that. I didn't call it a supportive community list, okay? I'll say, well, who can you do this with, okay? Some of y'all need a little bit more of that listing than others, okay? Depending on what our approach is. I love when my clients are listening, like, she gives this shit new names. She just be like, why don't you just do this? Why don't you do this? All right. Something I do when I know I'm about to step, because sometimes we choose to go into the belly of the beast. Like we choose to initiate change and go towards a problem. So one of the things I do is I pre-ask who can help me if something comes up, where they think they can help me. Can I talk to you about it? Maybe even establishing some rules. And then when it comes up, I ask, hey, we talked about this. Does this still work for you? Because sometimes things change. Flexibility is super important when it comes to asking for help, because where the help, that you think is coming may end up coming from a different direction. Okay. Give grace to yourself always, but also give grace to the others. Sometimes people are doing the best they can. You're doing the best you can. And sometimes to pause life to help can be hard, okay? Try to put in your part too. Like, try to, I don't know why I just had this image of, You know how you see the people who are being carried on like my language, they're being carried, they're being fanned with a big leaf and they're being fed grapes or whatever. Like, make sure you put some sweat equity into, right? And again, for some of us who have mental health diagnosis, like a mental health diagnosis, this is where your therapist, psychiatrist, psychologist, licensed social worker can help you to parse out some of those things. And even a coach could help that as well, okay? An organization may be better to ask for than a person. So what comes to mind when I think about this is if you're having financial hardship, you may have to reach out to several organizations for help. So there's organizational help, right? Like, yeah, you can reach out to family members for help too, but you may need to have some rent assistance. You may not have health insurance and you may have to go to a clinic or a, go on I don't know why this came to my mind, but like some of the universities, you have a dental problem. They have times where the dental students can help you with what's come up. Or it may be that if it's a domestic violence situation that you go to a organization that helps with that. So like there are places, if you type in whatever's going on into your phone or into the computer and resources can come up, or you can ask friends for, do you have a resource for this? Like an organization may be a better fit than a bud who has a life, has a family, has responsibilities. They may be able to support, hey, did you do this, versus coming up with the complete solution, okay? When you go to a life coach, your life coach, if they are worth their weight in gold, and I know so many are, they're going to give you skills. And the skills they teach you are going to be transferable to different areas of your life. They're going to teach you how to coach yourself, how to talk to yourself in a better way. They're going to teach you how to not catastrophize and how to realize that how you feel right now may not be how you always feel. They're going to give you, like when they saw for what your friend did to you, or your mom did to you, or your dad did to you, or your lover did to you, that those skills can be transferable to the difficult boss at work, or so I just wanted you to know that any helper worth their weight in gold can help you to have skills that you can take into other times of your life where you need help, okay? Say this all the time. The way you feel about it, the way you feel about a problem, the way you feel about the thing, the issue that you ask for help can change. And that's that hope that we need sometimes, okay? All right. And the last thing I want to talk about is the willingness to accept help as it comes. Like, y'all know, the guy who was drowning and a tugboat came by and a dinghy, is that the name of the little boat, came by and a yacht came by and the man drowns. He goes to heaven and he's like, God, you didn't send any help. And he was like, who do you think sent the tugboat? You may be surprised how help comes in. You may be surprised that you're at the grocery store and you overhear someone saying the resource you need. This has literally happened to me dozens of times. Or you see a license plate or a song on the radio, or a friend just randomly starts talking about this. Or like, for instance, you get laid off and then a friend says, oh my goodness, such and such is looking for, like, or you're in the dentist chair. You're like, oh, and they're like, oh, actually my cut, like, be open to how help comes in, and when it comes in, a willingness to kind of accept it, like, especially if it doesn't come in the way you think it will, okay? All right. So just know that asking for help definitely triggers that vulnerable side of us. This episode today was all up. Listen, y'all, I need this episode. This episode isn't just for you. All my episodes are for me as well. No, it's a reminder to us that there are times we need to ask the other humans for help. There are times where we can't figure it out on our own. And it's funny, I was watching Harlem, the new season of Harlem on Amazon, which I love. And Quinn, one of the characters, is going through something, and she's sitting on a park bench, and there's this montage. It's very dramatic. And she reaches out to all her friends, and she's like, I can't get over this. I need help. And they come to her. And so sometimes you need the infantry to come in to help you have a think session. May not even be something quite tangible. It may just be that they're there for you, that they say they love you, that they give you a hug, that whatever you need. Okay. All right, y'all, have a great one. I will see you next week, same time, same place. Look, holler at a friend and tell them about this. Share this episode. Mwah.
Are you feeling what you just heard? Good, good. Repeat after me. You don't have to figure it out on your own again anymore. I'm here to help. Head over to KimArrington.com and download my free video series dedicated to getting you feeling your best right now. Look around, there's some good stuff waiting on you. Got questions? Well, we're always talking on the socials, so find me on YouTube, Insta, and the book. Don't be shy, y'all. Go listen to another episode or join me here the same time next week. Finally, don't keep good shit to yourself. Share this with a homie that could use some help too. Remember, we're not lying to ourselves anymore. We're not lying to our doctors. And you damn sure don't lie to your life coach.